Hello, I'm Greg Ninnis for interest.co.nz, and joining me in a double shot interview today is Housing Minister Phil Twyford. Welcome, Minister.
Hi, Greg.
The big news in the last few weeks has been the announcement of the first big Kiwibuild program to be for 3,000 to 4,000 homes to be built on land adjoining Unitec in Mount Albert. I wanted to talk to you today about how you intend to sort of roll that program out. I understand so far HLC, which is the subsidiary of Housing New Zealand, and that's the company that was the master planning company behind Hobsonville Point, which is another big, reasonably intensive development the government's been involved with. They've had the initial look at it. Do you think they'll continue to be involved as the master planning agency, or what will their role be?
Well, Greg, it's early days. You're right, HLC, who did Hobsonville, have done the early work on it. We're really excited about the possibilities with Unitec's site. It's just it's a gorgeous urban site. Got about 30 hectares. It's got some beautiful mature trees and the Oakley Creek running down one side of it. It's got fantastic transport connections, heavy rail at one end. It's going to have light rail at the Point Chev end. It's got walking tracks and bike paths on all sides of the development. It really has the potential to be a stunning urban community there. The first thing that we're doing right now actually is we're talking with Auckland iwi about how they might be involved. There's an understanding or an arrangement between the government and the members of the Tamaki Collective that when the government repurposes land for housing purposes, where the tribes have a right of first refusal under their treaty settlement, they get the right to bid to be involved in the development. So
was the site there originally iwi-owned land, was it?
No, but in the treaty settlement with the Tamaki Collective, any government land in a certain area, they have first right of refusal.
I see.
So that's one thing that we're working through with them, just how we might structure that relationship.
Okay.
We're also going to...
have they been involved in a co-development role with the government or any other private developer?
Yes,
before?
they have actually in a number of developments, and this they're very keen, most of them, to be involved. And there's been a number of developments that are, many of which are still underway around Auckland, where the iwi are partnering with the government.
Okay. And what sort of role would they have when you say a co-developer or something like that? What does that really mean? Yeah,
so we're working all those options now, so I can't say exactly how it will turn out, but there are a number of options. So they could buy into the development, for example, and alongside the Crown, and be the sort of, if you like, the master developers alongside the Crown. They could be. They could take on super lots, like at Hobsonville, where the Central Master Planning organisation parcels up kind of areas within the development for a third-party developer to come in. They could do that. So there are a number of options.
Okay.
But look, they have ambition. Some of them have serious capital behind them. They understand the need for affordable housing, and we really welcome that.
Okay. So the master planning concept, if we can talk about it in that way, is that HLC or a similar organisation takes a block of land and says, right, well, this is where the roads will go. We'll want standalone houses over here, apartments over here, townhouses over here, a school here, shops, park, whatever. And then it might break that up and give different portions to different developers to get on with it within the plan that it has sort of drawn up.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. I mean, there are other ways, but we're really keen to get some great development outcomes, like good quality urban design, and importantly, we want to have lots of affordable housing. We want to have some state and community housing. We don't want to have just a whole lot of McMansions and 3 or 4 bedroom homes. We're looking for the rich diversity of housing types at prices people can afford.
Okay, so there'll be some that are built to a price point, and there'll be what are classed as affordable homes.
That's correct.
And there'll be others that might be a bit more upmarket, which are sold on the open market for anyone to buy.
That's right.
It'll be a mix of those things.
Yep.
Okay, so the time frame you're working on now, how do you see that rolling out?
Well, my hope, Greg, is that over the next 6 to 12 months, we get all of the development partnerships with iwi and anyone else that we want to partner with in place and locked down, that we get the master planning completed. There's already been quite a lot of work done on that site, on the master planning, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And my hope is that by next year we'll be building houses on site there. A development like this would typically take a decade to completely roll out.
They're usually done in sort of job lots, if you like.
That's right.
Over time. And you see that happening here as well?
I do, yeah. I think that's likely. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Of course, that's your ambitions for Kiwibuild and affordable housing go beyond just that one project. And I think 100,000 over 10 years, half of those in Auckland, so 50,000 in Auckland. What's happening in terms of other parts of the country, other projects, things like that?
So I've said that we'd like to see 12 to 15 of these big urban intensification projects happening in Auckland. Already, obviously, Hobsonville's kind of been a very good working model of that approach. Right. Out at Tamaki, the regeneration of the community there. And now we're working, in many cases, alongside Auckland Council, identifying other sites. And we really want to try to deliver a lot of urban intensification around the rail network particularly, take advantage of good transport connections. So in places like Panmure, Manukau, where I am out in West Auckland and Henderson, there's fantastic opportunity to bring people into those town centres, good access to the rail network and plenty of good infrastructure. So we'll be announcing more of those in the coming weeks and months. And there are also some very exciting opportunities outside of Auckland. So Wellington, Tauranga and one or two other places. Councils are coming to us and saying, we think there's a great opportunity here. All right.
And is HLC involved in those as well, or other organisations?
No, HLC is involved. I mean, sort of where we're going with all this, Greg, is that we're legislating to set up an urban development authority. And that will be the organisation that leads these projects.
Throughout the country?
Yeah, and it will be set up so that it can partner at the local level with councils and iwi and other investors and developers. It will be a central government agency with all the kind of capability and the special tools, planning and consenting tools, infrastructure provision, and to lead these large-scale, complex projects.
But it sounds very much like you're sort of taking HLC and expanding its scope a bit.
It is a bit. Well, you know, HLC, while they've been doing Hobsonville, they've built up a really great capability, probably the best concentration of expertise in urban development that we have in New Zealand at the moment. They've got about 50 staff right now, and they're growing rapidly. They are leading the regeneration of Housing New Zealand land in Northcote, in Roskill and in Mangere. And in Roskill and Mangere, those communities are going to be, they're right on the light rail line that's going to run from the CBD across the isthmus and through Mangere out to the airport. There's a fantastic opportunity for large-scale urban renewal.
So in terms of then getting this new authority in place, how long do you think that will take, and really how close are you to getting something?
So we're crunching through a lot of the policy work for setting up the Urban Development Authority right now. It's a pretty big, hairy monster of a job to get through. And I would hope that by the end of the year we'll have some legislation, but it won't. The legislation won't be passed into law or the organisation set up until probably towards the end of next year.
Okay.
It's reasonably complex stuff. You've got to get it right, and you've got to take everybody with you through the Parliament.
And you'll have to interface with the local authorities and all of that sort of thing.
That's right. But we're not going to wait for the new Urban Development Authority to be set up. We're going to start work on all these different projects, bringing together HLC, other parts of the MB and the government and councils, and we'll pretend that we've got the UDA, but we'll just kind of work together to deliver those projects.
Okay, and then when the UDA is in place, will that still be involved in projects which are already underway, or will it be looking forward to new ones?
No, it'll take over the existing ones as well.
Okay.
I mean, what I want us to do is to build really a kind of centre of excellence in New Zealand in urban development and urban regeneration. We just haven't really had it in New Zealand. This is a way of working that's been very common in Australia for the last 30 years and even longer in Europe and the United States. It's about having a government agency that's really good at empowering private capital and private investors to come in. It's these kind of projects, particularly brownfields projects in the city, they're too complex for the private sector to do on their own. There's too much fragmentation of land title, there are difficult infrastructure issues and too much risk. But a government agency, you know, if it's done right, it can remove some of that risk and create the space for private investors to come in and do what they do well.
Okay.
Build great places for people to live and work.
All
and
right.
play.
So under the projects that are already underway, whether it be Unitech or Hobsonville Point or Mount Roskill, the government doesn't hire builders and things like that to do it. It master plans it. It brings in building companies or developers to take on all or part of those projects, and they hire builders and proceed with the construction, reporting through to the government agency that's overseeing it. And once the authority is in place, it will be that agency that will oversee that. So it will plan it, it will look for opportunities, it will plan it, get all that side of it done, and then bring in the private sector to actually do the work.
I think that's the main way that it'll work, Greg, but there may be some times where the government acts as a kind of non-profit developer. And we always thought with Kiwibuild that one of the ways you could push the price of housing down is for the government to act as a developer itself, take on some of that risk, and forego the developer's profit margins. And so that may be part of the mix as well. We'll just see how we'll take it as it comes.
Okay, and so will the Unitech site be a bit of a test for that type of thing?
Yeah, it will. It will, and I want it to be a showcase, really, of great urban design, high quality density in the city, and also ways that the government can work together well with iwi, with developers, construction companies, and and deliver a really top quality community.
Great. Well, look, thanks for coming in today, Minister. It sounds like you've got a lot on the go, and we'll look forward to further announcements over the next few weeks and months.
Great. Thanks, Greg.
I'm Greg Ninnis for interest.co.nz.